All right, so welcome back, guys. And now we're going to get on to finally back onto the manual transmission swap. We're going to be on part number 2 now. Okay, so I said some things I wanted to do as I originally wanted to drop the whole cradle, pull the whole drivetrain out, fix some things, this and that. But really kind of crunch time. I have some other things that I actually want to do when I do that. So it's actually going to be more of a winter long project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to just go ahead and drop the transmission the traditional way and get it swapped out and just do the manual swap that way. I went ahead and started looking into changing out the wiring harness here. I went ahead and unplugged the automatic harness, and then here's the manual harness that I plugged in its place, and that'll get fed down, obviously, back the same routing it went to. Now, another thing I did as well to save myself some headaches is I went ahead and cleaned all the terminals, especially the backup light terminal for the manual, because those seem to corrode pretty easily, and I'm going to use some dielectric grease on those as well. So here we are under the car. We're going to do this traditionally. We're just going to go ahead and drop the drive shaft and pull that out and let the fluid drain into this pan. Also, another thing too is, speaking of the drive shaft, I had mentioned earlier in my part 1 video that I got a new yoke for the transmission for the tail shaft, and what that is that slip yoke on the AODE or the 4R70W is 1.6 inches in diameter, where the C4, or I'm sorry, maybe it's C6, but anyways, T5, T45, that diameter on that slip yoke is actually 1.5 inches. And we're really going to take our time on this. You know, I'm going to do one little thing a day, and I'll just make an update that way. So like today, I'm going to drop the drive shaft, get that out of there, swap out that slip yoke on that drive shaft. And the one I actually have in here is a Performance Automatic billet hardened piece. So I'm going to be just selling that off. So that's going to actually take off the total, off of some of the total of the original video's manual transmission swap. And here's my little helper. And she is the one that brought up the idea, like, hey, shouldn't you change all the other things in there? And yes, that's why you want to get a brand new transmission mount. I went with a factory OE piece because the car is cammed, and I wanted to absorb some of the vibration that way, but you can go with a solid mount. But if you do that, you have to go with a solid motor mount, or at least a polyurethane as well, because if not, you will break the tail shaft housing on the transmission. All right, so now we got the drive shaft out of there. As you can see here, we're going to break these bolts loose right here on both sides. And I'm also going to put a jack here up underneath the actual transmission pan right in this spot. The reason I'm going to do that is because I want to slowly drop the tail shaft here and let this fluid drain out into this pan. Now, there are also a couple of things down here as well. You see where that cable actually connects to the body right there. That's an 8mm that screws into the bottom of the body. And then also right here, that little clip, we're going to pull that out. And there's the bottom of the shifter itself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to unbolt the shifter and just take the actual shift linkage and the cable out from the top. That way it'll just all slide out as one unit. Also, notice the orientation of the motor mount. If you do put a new motor mount on the other transmission, notice that the orientation is actually like pointed back, the flange is. Because if you flip it the other way, it'll actually orientate the transmission flange the other way, and it won't work, it won't line up. Also, one other thing we want to do is that inspection panel right there on the bottom of the transmission. That is where you're going to loosen the torque converter bolts. So we're going to go ahead and take care of those at this time as well. So that way we know that when we separate this transmission, the bell housing from the block, it'll actually all come apart, and we won't have to worry about that torque converter being all a pain in the butt for us. All right, and like I said, that's part 2. That's where we're at so far today. And we're going to take this slow. We're going to do it step by step. We're going to record everything, and that way any trouble, like all my other videos that I run into, anything of the sort, we can problem solve it together. If you guys have any, questions, comments, just hit me up right there, and we'll go ahead and address those as we can. Also, if you have any better ideas, I'm all for suggestions, so hit me with those as well, guys. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on part number 3 here, hopefully pretty soon, because I want to get this done, but like I said, I'm going to take my time.